Yes.
There's Dave also. That's great.
And Dave? Oh, good. Hi, Dave.
Hi, Elsie,
I,
how are you?
I wasn't sure if you were on last time
Uh,
because I didn't see your face.
no, that's right, Elsie. I was at work, so I did have it on for a little time in my ear, but and at the moment I'm out in Cyprus, so it's like it's now 11 o'clock in the evening. So I'm keeping my voice down, but I'm really looking forward to what you're going to say.
Okay. Well, you look tanned.
Yeah, it's quite warm out here at the moment. We've only been out here for like 4 days so far, but we go back after the weekend, so it's just a little break. But it is really nice weather and sunny. It's gorgeous.
And where are you again?
We're in Cyprus.
In Cyprus, that in Greece. Pardon my ignorance, but that's Greece, right?
Yeah, it's part of Greece, and a bit north is more like Turkish, but it's a Greek Cypriot island, so that's good.
Well, Greece is on my bucket list.
Cool. It's a nice place.
Maybe Sophia will hear, even though she's not joining us this time. Maybe she'll hear when she listens to the video.
Yeah, that'd be good. That'd be cool.
Did you get a chance to listen to the last call?
I did, yeah. Like I say, I was at work listening to bits of it, but I managed to, obviously, when they put the the replay, I sat and watched it right the way through, which was nice to see everybody and see that everybody's. Well, it all seems really positive in regards to people are seeing things and just understanding really the words that you're coming out with. As I said to you before, Elsie, I think I've got. It seems like every time I listen to you, it's actually something I was meaning to ask, and you seem to get the subject every time. I mean, I don't know if that's how it works, but it seems to be working well for me at the moment.
Oh, that's great. That's great. It is interesting that, to me, again, it bounces back to what has become one of my favorite insights that continues to expand, and that is that we're always mentored by mind, whether we accept it in the moment or not.
Yeah.
And kind of that connection that we all have, because we're all part of mind, is that independent of each other, we can come to an alignment independent of each other. And then when we do get the opportunity to connect again, it's like, oh gosh, you had that insight and so did I. And then we join together to be able to express that. And I love when that happens, because that's the proof of the pudding, that we are all connected and being mentored by mind. So I wondered if anybody had anything to add from last time, or if there's something new that has come to you. Yeah. Vicky. Hi, Vicky.
Hi, Elsie. Hi, everyone. So, Elsie, I really loved our conversation in between times. This time, after my last call, I suppose what happened after the last call was that I realised two things. So one thing is that, no, I suppose I only realised one thing. One thing is that I'm going to describe it as pain, but I don't know if that's the right word, of that shift in going down the rabbit hole and following my thinking in order to solve it, versus just see it and lean into that and full stop. And it felt like, because I was playing around with that ever since our email, kind of over the last 2 weeks, I'd catch myself and I'd go, oh, just see what you're seeing and don't go there. But it was really interesting, because one of my rabbit holes, I suppose, is the desire to kind of prove or find evidence of how good a job I'm doing at something. And that only comes from insecure thinking. I only need to know that when I'm feeling insecure and wobbly and I'm believing a lot of thinking. And it was a really interesting experience, because I thought, Vicky, you know what's going on here. And all that came to me, the only wisdom that came to me, not the only wisdom, but this was the bit, and it said, and I heard, your self-worth isn't measured by your client's results. Stop. And I stopped and I thought, okay, just full stop this, do what Elsie says, just see that you've seen it and stop. But there was like almost physical pain in me not going there, because it's so habitual and it so looks like it's going to take me somewhere productive to just stay in the moment. It was as if it was physically, I'm doing this movement because it was as if there was a physical draw. No, come on, you like to come this way. And then in that moment, I felt that and I saw that again. And I thought, this is so helpful for me, but also for me to see that in terms of my clients. Because if I'm going to encourage them to just trust in seeing, understanding the pain that they might feel not going down that habitual route is really helpful for me to know that it can feel like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my, Vicky, honestly, that has really moved me. I just welled up inside as you were sharing that. It's so powerful, and so rich. As you say, like not only for you and what you've been going through with the back and forth, but then when you shared that you could see for your clients, like you're the demonstration, you're the proof in that regard for your clients, because it's going to be how you live, how you are in the moment, that's going to touch them more than whatever you might say to them. So that really touched me, what you said.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. So it felt helpful for me to see that, that not only was it helpful for me to just be with the process, but that could help me to serve others as well.
Yes.
It wasn't anything wrong with that. There was no wrong in me feeling that pain. It just felt really forgiving, and then it kind of fell away and I started thinking about something else, and it's only just kind of come back to me now. I've then just been going with the flow of things.
Yeah. And what struck me when you said that again, like sort of the bit of pain, it's like shedding a skin that's grown too tight for us. Like it's a shift into another level of understanding, another level of consciousness, but it is like shedding a skin, bursting out of that, or out of a shell that we've been so used to, like a pattern of thoughts is a shell. And we burst out of that. So sometimes it may feel like that. The reason I'm really relating to what you're saying is because I've just gone through that myself this morning and last night, and that's like, I share this so you all know, we don't come to perfection in this physical realm. We continue to evolve and learn and grow even after all this time. And much of the time, like there's just a vitality, a beauty to this evolution. But sometimes, as you're describing, it's a little uncomfortable. It's a little like when I work on my own, when I'm doing my book, I'm the one kind of in charge of it. And this is the harmony between wisdom and the intellect. I write through inspiration. And then, I'll go back and look at it again. And it's a balance between wisdom and the intellect, where I do some editing. Because when I'm typing just from inspiration, I'm not worried about editing. I'm just letting it flow. And sometimes the grammar isn't correct and so on. So that's where the wholeness, which is kind of the topic for this 6th session, the wholeness comes in. The alignment between wisdom and the intellect, with wisdom always being in charge. So when I'm working on my own, it's like, the only kind of discrepancy is when I start to pay too much attention to my habits of thought, of wanting to get something perfect or in a timely fashion, because I tend to get impatient. And so when I'm on my own, like I can kind of ride that wave of impatience and then just settle down and do the work. But when I'm working with a team, then there's sort of like more understanding that I need to be patient with other people's time frame. That it's not all about Elsie's time frame and how I want things done and accomplished. It's being respectful of what is in regard to other people's time frames and what they can do and when they can do it and that kind of thing. And so I just went through that yesterday and today, where my time frame is like, I want it done now. In this project, I want it done now. And if it was me, like I would move forward and do it and get it done. But it's not just me. It's not just about me. It's about the team and the project. And so I tossed and turned, trying to, rationalize why my intellect was so gripped. Well, it's because of so-and-so. And oftentimes, if it's attached to Sid in any which way, I get more attached and more impatient, like, let's do it now. And then it dawned on me when I woke up after tossing and turning, it's like, you know the answer. It's just you don't want to listen. And with that, then there was once again space for wisdom to come out and drive the boat. It's like, okay, patience. So I really appreciate that. It was more of the shell breaking for me too, the shell of impatience that I allow to have a strong hold on me. So, we're in the same boat, all of us, in one way or another, with whatever kind of habits or shell we put that limits us from our full potential. And sometimes, like, it's a beautiful thing where I shared with you all last week, that I wasn't sure whether I wanted to do this longer term, our True Nature program again. And I vacillated back and forth. And then when I listened to what wisdom was pointing me to, it was like, okay. And then right in that moment came fresh insight that brought out some creativity that I hadn't even considered. And so I love that. Like there was some pain with that too, in terms of letting go of those shell-like thoughts, So isn't that nice to know how much we are the same in our evolution? I know sometimes people think that, okay, well, this old woman has been a student for 45 years. Surely to God by now, she's got a grip, but that's part of the evolution. And honestly, I saw Sid do the same thing. I absolutely saw him do the same thing, even within the last 3 weeks of his life, that there were moments where he would have access to the internet and he would see that his work was being so commercialized, and he'd get a little jolt, like a little crack. You know what I mean? It's like, oh gosh, look what people are doing to this sacred message. And then what I also saw that was so inspiring and hopeful was his ability to bounce back, to truly let that thought flow and come back to, not only is this a sacred message, but it has sacred abilities that allows it to take care of itself, these principles, and remain in the world since it has from the beginning of time. But I saw that still in him, where he'd have those human moments and then his resilience and just letting it go, letting it go.
Elsie, could I ask you something about that? And you may, I'll just ask it. Is it, I really connected that idea of it being a shell. That's really, we've just had goslings hatch on the farm. And the idea of shells and breaking out, that's really relevant. And would you say it's always safe to break out of the shell? Like when you've worked with clients, is that always, safe? Is that always okay for them?
Yes, yes. If you're the one in service and you're coming from love and understanding, that offers a protective balloon. I posted something today about that because that came to me in terms of there are times where being in service to someone or to oneself, you are direct. But especially when you're in service to a client or a friend or a spouse or a child, and you can see and you're moved, it's not like you make a conscious decision, okay, I've got to address this now. You know, there's a feeling about I gotta. But when it comes out in the moment without thought, that is what I see as wisdom directing us. You know, wisdom coming from within to offer sometimes a very direct, don't go there. Like when you suffer, is it serving you well? But when you're offering it without judgment, without blame, you're offering it with understanding and with love, that has this healing capacity of protection. And that's why I would say it's safe. If it's not safe, you'll know.
Yeah.
I trust that the wisdom inherent in all of us will know and will give you pause. But I've worked with suicidal clients and have had that experience where wisdom came through me and wouldn't let that person off his wisdom, simply in his courage in reaching out to me. To him, that was nothing. It was like, why are you making such a big deal that I called you, Elsie? It's a huge deal that he called when he was suicidal, that his wisdom let him breathe for a moment to reach out. So you'll know, like if it ever is not safe to crack that shell, you'll know.
Yeah, thank you, Elsie. That's really helpful. I forget that I'll know. There'll be wisdom in the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
beautiful.
want to know ahead of time, but you don't need to.
That's great. That's
Thank
great.
you, Elsie.
Thank you, Vicki, for bringing that up. Did something come to you, Andre, about that?
Yeah. Because your question first, Vicky, triggered something for me to see in my life, because it seems like I'm at the stage, or whatever to call it, where I'm somewhat forced to listen more to feelings before I do stuff, you know, you, Elsie, you're a master in it, you're so good to, Andre, I don't feel doing like this right now. So you're just letting it go. And that's like the first time I experienced that with you, was like, is that possible? Can you do that? Because I have such a strong mind, like, especially in my work, I'm practicing to see if I'm feeling like taking in these new clients. For example, today we had a talk with a potential new client and I didn't feel it at all. And I almost said it at the end of the call, like, I don't think we're going to work, and I'm just saving it a little bit to have a discussion with my partner, because that would be more respectful. So I'm starting to daring to listen to my feelings more. And if I don't feel it, I'm not doing it. I'm not saying I'm doing it in my work. I'm much better in my private life, but in work, I have this idea that I have to do it because of this and that. But I'm daring to just follow the feeling more.
Wow.
And that is much thanks to this program. And yeah, and the great question from you, Vicky, just triggering like, wow. Yeah.
That's
Could be
great.
that.
That's really great. See, look at that, Vicky. Look at how you help just by, in your honesty and sharing what you've been going through and how that cracked for Andre. And I love when you say, I'm daring to do this. I love that. Like, I've never thought about it that way. I acknowledge that, you know, it takes courage sometimes, but just that word daring from your original voice, that clicked something deeper for me too, Andre. You know, it's like we dare to stand in truth. And feeling, it's not just about a nice feeling or that kind of thing. The kind of feelings that I'm pointing to in regard to wisdom guiding us, that feeling is an expression of wisdom. It's like a tagline of wisdom or an outcome of wisdom. It's what helps us maneuver through life. So it's not just about this touchy-feely kind of that thing. It's a beautiful feeling. It's a positive feeling, but it has far more depth to it than that. And recently, someone sent me a post from somebody who was a tad dismissive about feelings, you know, pointing to, like, if we're just pure consciousness, consciousness doesn't have feelings and that kind of thing. Well, I don't know what their understanding is, and that's up to them. What it did for me was it shifted the value and profundity of the outcome of wisdom being a deep feeling of guidance as an attribute of wisdom. It's an attribute of our true nature. So it's not just this, oh, touchy-feely thing. I had a client in Ireland a number of years ago who met me in Tampa, Florida. And she, you know, took a liking to me in the way I talked, and she ended up inviting me to Ireland. And I may have shared the story about, you know, being a pilgrim on the road to Damascus. But one of the things she said to prepare me before I even arrived there was, she said, Elsie, like, don't go hugging people. You know, like, it's, you know, I know you're living in California now, but they don't go for this touchy-feely stuff in Ireland. You know, they're a bit more reserved. So just kind of watch yourself and don't be this touchy-feely California girl. And it's like, oh, you know, I was a bit taken aback. But it's like, I can't watch myself not share love. You know, we're all that love. That's our source. That's the deep feeling that guides us, that underpins us, that helps us feel safe when we're cracking through to another level, helps our clients feel safe, whether we talk to them or not. That's the deep feeling. It's an attribute of wisdom. It's an attribute of love. And so I just was who I am. And honest to God, the people just resonated with that deep feeling. And they became more vulnerable. Like, the other thing she said is, they won't share like you all share in California or in Florida. They just won't do that. Oh my goodness. Even the harbor master of the city we were in shared his vulnerability. And my client at the end of the day said, I've never heard him talk like that. So for you, honestly, Andre, to say, like, I'm daring to do this in my life and a little bit in my work, and to have the courage to also, that your wisdom guided you to not say, I'm not going to work with you, but to be able to couch it in a respectful term, and also to be courteous to your partner, to say, I need to talk with my partner. How beautiful were you guided to do that?
Yeah. And as Vicky said, it could be so tempting to, I don't want to work with you. It's like tempting to just blurt out this nonsense, just premature But speaking of feelings, Elsie, the word that came to mind, how I experience is energized. Like, I feel prompted for action. It's like this metaphor of rowing my boat with I don't know the English word. What's the word for this? Whatever. And turning up the sails and letting the wind take me instead. That's how it feels. Like, oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to hurry up. Struggle. And then I just, okay, maybe I can put the sail up, and then the magic happens.
Oh.
It feels, that's the difference in terms of putting a picture for it, how I feel it in my body.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I just love how you all, like everybody shared last time who was on the call, and you shared so beautifully in your unique voices, and you share like things that I haven't heard before. And I love that you're doing that, Andre, and to hear you talk more this time. And same as Vicky, when you said just now as well, like, lean into your wisdom. I never heard that expression before. Lean into my wisdom. And I love that. I love what I'm hearing from you all. Does anybody want to jump in and add to what they're hearing, or perhaps something that has prompted in your own experience? Yes, Tony.
There. Hi. So one of the things that you said last week that has really played in, become more heightened, I would say, through wisdom, was you talked about your story when Sid kind of admonished you, and then later on, like, somebody said to you, get over yourself.
Yes.
And that just struck such a chord with me, because I thought, oh my, how I get, oh my problem, oh my fear, oh my, and I thought, oh, get over yourself. It's so human. We all have that. And then how wisdom was like that's all of us. That's all of us. That's the humanness in all of us. And just that simple phrase of get over yourself, it's not special. It just resonated with me. And so it was very calming. It was like for like days that I just spent more time in quiet and like drove to the lake and did things, and I thought, just in that beautiful feeling of and just being more in the moment, and get over yourself. These worries sure come up, but just get over yourself. That just, and then the more I could do that, it was just allowing me to let go of thinking about stuff so much, and doing, as somebody in last week's call too said, it's kind of like where you turn stuff over, right? You notice it, let it go, and then mind comes through, and you know when to make decisions. They're no longer decisions, right? There's a movement that just happens, and there's no struggle involved. There's no thinking. It just is this unfolding. And how much such a simple phrase like get over yourself kind of allowed that, right? It allowed like that step back, like, oh, right,
Oh, that's great. It is a great phrase. I mean, certainly, Tony, I was not laughing when it was said to me. It just let out a lot of air. But, after that, it did its magic.
Yeah.
Like it did its magic. It let out a lot of air, which cracked me open to more understanding, just like you. And then I felt calmer.
Yeah.
You know, I felt calmer and more at home. And you're the one, aren't you, that ended up during one of the earlier calls after an hour going into the kitchen and having a cup of tea. So I
Yeah.
love this time that, you know, after you kind of got over yourself or whatever it was, you went to the lake and, you know, like I so respect that your wisdom guides you in that regard, the gentleness,
Yeah.
you know, even though like there may be troubling thoughts or whatever in the moment that you've had, but when you get over yourself, then there's a soothing. You go to the lake, or you go and you made yourself a cup of tea, and how love soothes us. It may
Yeah.
give us a kick in the behind when we need it, but what a gentle parent wisdom is.
I like that. Gentle parent. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, it really is.
So thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Tony. Anybody else? Vicky?
Oh, Elsie, I just saw Anna raise her hand and I'm going to let her go because I've been talking a lot.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
it's okay. You get no. You're funny. I just wanted to share that I just feel very touched. There's nothing particular that I can think, but as all of you are talking in your, I just feel touched. It's that this depth, you know, brings me to a place in my heart. I don't know. So I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful, beautiful. It doesn't take much, does it, Anna?
Mm,
You know, because that's
yeah.
who we are.
And sometimes, all the times, it's good to feel this. You know, it's just good to feel the feeling. You spoke about that one time, to feel the feeling. As we're talking about feelings, you know, to just feel the feeling and know that everything is okay. And that there's a time and there's time, and that yeah.
You know, one of the things that I really love about how you share, Anna, and you did this the last time too, you said something about prayer, is that, you know, as things have been going on, the tragedy in your homeland, and that you see that kind of the big picture, there's not a heck of a lot you can do, but that you have felt in prayer for the people struggling and for your country and all that. And you were moved as you shared from that depth of love, from that depth of prayer. And you do that like that. That's your original voice, is you come from such a deep feeling that you don't have to say much and you touch people. And I love that. That was a thing that I saw Sid do, is that he, out of anybody, could say less and convey more just by that depth and richness of his feeling. I remember many, many years ago when we were still living in Florida and Tampa, and he came to do some work for the organization we had there. And he stayed with us. This was before he had married Judy and a few years after Barb's passing. And he was painting in his spare time, like his ability to just live in the moment, like he'd talk with people and that kind of thing. And then when he had some free time, he painted. And so he was out in our backyard painting a picture, a beautiful picture that we actually have in our home here. And then we had a barbecue, and as we were sitting around the table just before, while Ken was barbecuing, Sid spoke very deeply for about 5 minutes, very spiritually. And it just came out of the blue, just in the moment, something struck him about life, and he shared that with us. And Ken kind of forgot about the steaks on the barbecue because he was just so engrossed, captivated by what Sid was saying. And when Sid finished, Ken and I just looked at each other, and Ken said to Sid, Sid, you can say more in 5 minutes than other people would take a lifetime to say. The profundity of his message, the depth of his message was so profound. We all have that gift to be able to share in shorthand via the feeling. And what's coming to me again is just to honor that it's the feeling that's the educator. Even if sometimes we're with clients and we can see they may not want to talk, say that day, maybe they just want to hang out with you, and you hang out with them in a beautiful space. When I say a beautiful space, it's like ordinary. You may be going to have lunch, you may go for a walk in the woods or on the beach or whatever. It doesn't matter what you do. It's the feeling again of connection, the feeling of being together that can mean the world, can touch somebody, and that person will go home, and maybe later that day or a week later, an insight will come because they've had some space created in their intellect, in their personal thinking. And so something new can come forth. That happened for me a lot in those early days. Don't talk to me, but just my true nature wanting to be with this man whose true nature was so awoken. But even from this man who was so awake, don't talk to me. I just wanted to feel his essence. And so even if you have clients that are so troubled, or as I said earlier, suicidal, and you can be with them in love, if they'll allow you to hug them, that's a gift. I've hugged people, and just that embrace has healed that touch. Thank you, Anna.
Oh, thank you, Elsie.
Thank you. Vicki, is that still alive for you?
I got absorbed by Anna's and I thought it had gone, but actually it was a really lovely thing that I saw as Tony was talking, and it connected to something that I'd seen before, and I thought, oh, that's that thing, and actually the seeing happened in the moment on the call. So originally when Tony started talking, the phrase "get over yourself" brought up a in me. Like I felt my thinking. I thought, oh yeah, because that's arrogant, and that means you were being in some way arrogant. Not you, Tony, but for me, that if someone told me to get over myself, I'd have a whole load of thinking about how awful I'd been first. And I felt that, and I saw it, and then the wisdom came really quickly in that it's safe to get over yourself because, okay, this is just what I think. I don't really share these types of ideas, but I'm going to share here. Because there is no self, that we're talking about the illusion of a self that has my worries or has my fears. The my-ness, the my, is an illusion, because what we're coming up against is thoughts that aren't ours, passing through or rising within us in a way that's just being human. And I saw this once when I was getting really caught in an I'm not good enough kind of thought storm. And it suddenly occurred to me that it wasn't my thought. I'm not good enough is just a thought that arises in humans. Nothing to do with me being good enough. And when Tony was talking, and I was like, oh no, it's that safe thing that it's not you, that you can get over yourself because there wasn't a self. It's all okay. It's not you. It's not personal. It just looked that way. And it was really beautiful to be reminded of that, and for that to happen in really quick. I saw my ugh, and then I relaxed and saw the much more beautiful, bigger, profound thing behind it. So thank you, Tony. I really appreciated hearing you.
Gosh. Beautiful. Wow. Claire, do you have anything to add?
I was just thinking that I could spend a long time reflecting on what Vicky just said. There's a lot of truth in that, especially the part about there's no I, and it's just the illusion, and it's just a human thought, and it's not personal. All of that is a very And I'm just really enjoying listening to everyone. I'm sorry I couldn't make the last call. I was traveling. I let Andre know, but and I'm just really enjoying this, listening to the conversation and just kind of letting it kind of flow over me. And I'm enjoying seeing everyone's faces. And
beautiful.
Last week, I didn't catch up with the call until a few days ago. I'm sorry, but anyway, and the part that you talked about that was about really looking towards what you know rather than the dip. I'm very have always been quite glass half empty in my nature, and so it's very, very easy for me to get kind of drawn in by the dip. And even with all with even and with what I've seen, so all of that is was just really, I don't know, I'm just really enjoying it, really enjoying it.
Oh, great.
So thank you. It's just it feels like a real privilege to be part of this, and thank you very much for everybody for what you're sharing, because it's all really beautiful. And you know, how often does one get to have a conversation like this in life?
Yeah, I agree. I think this group has shared amazing insights and depth of feeling and understanding. And I also feel it's a privilege to be part of it with you all, you know, that we're all learning and growing together. And I love that. I just love that. Yeah.
And I'm so glad that my wisdom told me to say yes as soon as the email came through. Because that in itself was the initial spark of wisdom, if you want.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Wow. I wonder, Kathy, do you have anything to add? I loved what you had said about your son last time.
He's always there front of mind. The only thing immediately is, and Claire, and your wisdom got me here too. I don't know. I guess all your wisdom spot my wisdom.
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just sitting in it, I don't think I've got anything to say, but yeah, again, what Vicky said about, the human thought, I was thinking about something today that had come up. I was driving in the car with my husband, and it was, and that was what was on my mind. I was thinking about, kind of had a bit of a shock about something, and it's like the shock is not mine. It's like I'm feeling, we've had some rain here, and it's almost like I'm feeling the cold wind rather than something to do. So something in that, I think, I need to reflect on it more in order to get the words, but very, very present for me as well. That sense that it's so not personal. And that's like, it's not a one time, it's not, one time insight and then I'm done. It's not personal. It's like, it's again and again and again, and seeing it differently, and seeing what it is rather than what we think it is, and where we get caught up. And that again resonated with something that had literally happened this afternoon. So, but as you said, Anna, you're feeling really touched. I had also sunk into that feeling. I could just really feel it in the group.
That, to me, that's the gift of our humanness, and the little I and the big I, the little me and the big me, the interaction between the human and essence. I mean, it's such a fascinating journey. It's fascinating. It's filled with learning. There's so much to learn. Like, that's part of what I'm seeing again. I feel like I'm learning more now in my elder years than I was before. It's like there's so much coming out. It's like, okay, that's gone, chipping away the little the little get over yourself stuff. And so there's more and more freedom and more knowing what I want to be when I grow up. It doesn't take so long to come to that position. And the vitality, I have such a respect for the vitality that I feel, Brooke, after seeing us old timers, the speakers at the 3PGC conference, that was one of the things that really stood out for me. Is although I'd seen the speakers, as I mentioned last time, on Zoom, as we were sharing insights and what was new for us and what our topics might be for the conference, when I actually saw people that I've known for 40 years and so on in real life again, it was, what struck me was the vitality in people, the vibrance in people, the aliveness, even though, we're graying and aches and pains and stuff like that. It's like when we're really coming from that essence in the moment, those aches and pains aren't there. It's just our body is whole. There is no I at that time. And again, I saw that with Sid in his last days, how he could switch from being frail and ill to being vital and sounding like he was 40 years old instead of 76. But to see this group of so-called pioneers exhibiting somewhat similar attributes, again, of this gift of understanding, what was really magical for me, and that has lingered for me, the joy in aging. You know, like I've coached people who've said, oh, I'm 60, I just turned 60 and I feel like my life is over. And it's like, God, you're just a kid, you know, at 60. Now to me, that's, you're just a kid. And if somebody says they're 40, it's like, God, you're just a teenager. You're spring chicken. It's like that has changed. I felt and I feel like my life began at 60. And then when I turned 70, I felt like, oh my God, I've never enjoyed my life more, and so on and so on. And yet when I look back, I still have one sister alive out of siblings of 5. And she's old, you know, God love her. She picks up energy when we get together and talk, not about this, but just about family and life and stuff like that. But she picks up that underlying energy that's just there when we're living. The more we live in harmony, the more energy we give off. Again, just doesn't matter what words we're sharing. It's like what Anna gave us in that moment with so few words. She shared her love with us. And I see that with my sister, even though, like, you know, she's struggling with her age, she picks up the energy. It's like intuitive. It's a natural thing that she kind of picks up that energy now, whereas she used to fight it. And I think, I don't know if I told you, I probably did tell you, but the last time, after I spoke to her on her birthday, she called me the next day after her daughter, who follows me on Twitter and has become an ardent fan of her auntie. She's a principal in the States at a school. And so she's really into education, Vicki, you know, because you work with youth, right? Yeah. And so she's loving what I've been sharing on my posts, and talked to her mom about it. Now, her mom wouldn't listen to me, but she'll listen to her daughter. And so what she was able to do for the first time ever in 45 years of my being a student of this, she was able to call the next day and said, you know, my daughter really admires you. And that's all I got to say. Goodbye. And I thought, oh, God love you. I do, you know, I just bless your heart. That was huge for her to be able to say that, you know, my daughter really admires you. Goodbye. Yeah. So you just don't know how love is making itself felt with the world and with family who have gone like I did. No, don't talk to me about this. And seeing how love is the magic. It just heals. It helps us get over ourselves. Yeah. And you know, Andrea, when you and I were talking the other day, just in our private conversation, one of the things that really lingered with me was when I was asking you a little bit about your trip to California and what you were learning in the program you attended. And the biggest thing for you was being in service, that was your takeaway, was being in integrity and being in service. And that really rang a bell for me, of course, because that's, I know we all are learning more and more to be in service. You know, that's our primary direction in helping, in assisting people or kids or whatever, is being in service. It's not so much about getting clients, you know, building the financial bit, like that's important. I don't misunderstand me, but I've experienced over all these years that when I'm in service, the financial benefits come along. I've done both. And I can say without hesitation that definitely being in service provides financial care, support. And so I really, when I heard you say that, it really resonated with me in terms of what you took away. And I wondered later, like when you talked with other people that participated in that, could you see, like, was that relevant for them too?
Well, you can see on my response that I'm not sure. I didn't hear. I talked with my partner Roger, who is a 3 principal guy. I could say that to him, but I'm not so sure. I didn't hear a lot of talk about it. Because here's the thing, it seems to me, you know, I'm doing like digital marketing for many years now, and it seems to me it's the same with self-development. We are searching for the holy grail. We are looking for the secrets, but the secret is there is no secret. It's just it's aligning, like you said, Elsie, like my takeaway. It seems like everything is built into being of the highest service I can be for our customers or the world, or however I call it. That seems to activate my power or my understanding, or whatever you want to call it. And we teach so many of our clients. We have stolen one thing from you, Elsie, getting over yourself. We have implemented in our programs, because what gets in the way for us being our service is not getting over ourselves. You know, how am I doing? Is people responding to my message? Oh, I not have the sales. They're like, stop it. Just, how can you, is that video you created, is it of service? Yes, but stop. Go for it. Share it. So we are quite, maybe we're too direct. I don't know yet. we'll soon know it, but it seems like people need to hear it. Like, you're running a business not only for yourself. You're running a business, of course, you need to survive, but you're doing it because you want to create a structure of another impact that another company you work with didn't have. So go with that. Go with the highest inspiration why you started for yourself and wanted to be of service.
Yeah.
So get over yourself, be of service. That's our mantras. We are telling everybody, how is my video? Stop. Go. Oh, what are you doing now? Oh yeah, sorry. Being of, and then it's like trying to get people to see, not just hear, but see where the power is. Then I love what you said, Elsie. Then you have everything. Then you have because it doesn't feel good to have the money if you're selling yourself.
Yeah.
But if you're being of service, it's like, wow, and I get paid too. Wow.
Yes.
That's a new take on running a business. Or
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, because it did leave me curious. I thought, isn't that interesting? I thought, what an incredible program, first of all. Like, if that program's foundation was service first in regard to what they were offering, the marketing and advertising, or, you know, whatever the main theme was, but the underpinnings was be in service, to be in service. Yeah. Or if that was just basically what you heard because of your level of understanding.
Oh, that's a great question. But that's a great question. But what seems to me like either they're conscious of it or not, but that's the magic everybody's looking for. But they got their heads in the sales funnels and the ads and the videos. They're forgetting where the true power is. So
Okay.
that's how it seems to me, at least. They know it, either they know it or not, if that makes sense, you know, because that seems to be, you're not going to survive as an entrepreneur if you're just fueled by your own, whatever, I don't know how to call it.
Ambition.
Whatever. Yeah, you know, it has to be something deeper, at least how the world operates in 2019, because I can see people starting up now with not daring to go for their highest aspirations, you know, going for, I want to be a coach, but oh, I have to do this boring stuff first so I can make money going for my dream. That seems to be off the table now. If you want to break through, you need to have the power of your wisdom, and it's not going to get activated by a good idea. You know, you can't fool it like, but this will fuel my dream. No, you have to go for number one.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. Well said, Andre. Well said.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'll come back to you, Claire. Dave, you're smiling from ear to ear there. And I just wonder, how is that affecting you?
Just really what everybody has already said, Elsie, about the fact that, and I think I spoke to you about it before, that I think Caroline and Vicky were there when we had that lovely weekend at Dartington in Devon. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I say it was only a couple of days, and like I say, it just hit home to me the fact that there's not really got to be that much said, but when you're, as we are much the same now, in a group of individuals that are basically coming from more or less the same understanding. And I always remember what you said to me, Elsie, when the fact that I was saying about how it was feeling in there and stuff like that. And you were just so humble when you were saying about the fact, it's not the fact that you were there, it's just the fact that, you know, you can get that sense of, you know, of being together and oneness and what have you. And like I said, I was saying, well, does that mean I've got to, like, basically, I'm only going to get that feeling now and again, but I've felt that so much more now when I've been working with people and chatting and stuff like that, where it just, like you say, if you're not trying to get over anything, but the fact that, you know, if it's coming from a place of love and it's coming from a place that you've seen yourself, and maybe people see that in yourself, you know, so that's been a great benefit to myself. And like I say, just being able to have that kind of, that good feeling charges your batteries up again, are really good.
Charges your batteries up really good. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
I love that. And, you know, I mean, I could see it on your face, Dave. That's why I went to you right away, because it seemed to really hit you what Andre was saying. And I feel that from you. Like, I felt that from you the first time I met you, when we were outside the building and we were chatting on the stairs there for a bit, that you just had, you didn't see who you were yet at that point, but you were full of love, but very humble with this, because you were just drinking it in, the feeling that was happening in those 2 days there. And I know that somehow, like, whatever work you do, I don't even know what work you do, Dave. It doesn't matter. But I just know by the look on your face that you're sharing a lot in your work and in your relationships, because you're so solidly grounded in that feeling. Like, you have such a respect for that deep feeling that you can't help but share that, whether you're talking so-called principles or not. It's like, you know, the way everybody has spoken and the way Anna said so little, but her feeling was so deep. I can see that in you.
Yeah, like I say, Elsie, it has really affected me in that way. And as I say, you know, I still sometimes worry that I'm going to lose it and what have you. But like I say, touch wood, it's been going. It's still lasting and what have you. And like I say, it's just I'm just enjoying everything at the moment, so that's good.
Good. Thank you, Dave. I'm sorry for the phone. I forgot to unplug the phone so it wouldn't bother us. So I apologize for that. Yeah. Being in the moment. Okay, Claire, we'll swing back to you.
It's funny, Elsie, I didn't know where the phone was coming from, but I didn't mind. So I just wanted to share this. I don't know if you guys can see this. Elsie, can you see it? I can't show it to you and read it at the same time.
The purpose of your incarnation is to grow in love, and then hold it up, to expand that love and to merge with God, who is love. And this is best done through service. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Wow.
And this is very old. As you can see, I've kind of used sellotape on it. It's bits where it's see-through. I've had this since I was 19 and now I'm 52. And this is, and I just wanted to share it because I shared this recently on Supercoach, actually, on the final day, because we were talking about stuff and we were talking about service. And this is a card that I got. I once went to visit an avatar. And well, I visited a home of some people who were devotees of a particular avatar, and they said to me, pick a card. And I was quite petulant, 19, and was like, oh, bloody avatar, you know, sure. And I thought, well, what's the most difficult question I could possibly ask? And I thought, okay, what's the purpose of my incarnation? And this was the card that I picked. And then there were literally 500 of these cards. And being 19, I went through all of them to see if any of the rest of them said the purpose of your incarnation is, but none of them did. And so this has kind of been the kind of mantra for my life since then.
Wow.
And what really, really strikes me, what's striking me more and more and more, is that it doesn't really matter, the form doesn't matter to me so much anymore. And I really love what we're talking about, in the sense that the feeling, if you're coming from this feeling and you're coming from the feeling of service and it's backed by understanding and wisdom, then I really don't think it matters what the form is of what you're doing in the world.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what I wanted. Anyway, I really wanted to share this card because it seemed very apt.
It's perfect. Just perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's honestly, Claire, shivers. Chicken skin, as they might say, chicken skin. I love that. Wow. Wow. You know, and it's so true. Like, it doesn't matter what we do or kind of what form our service takes. My service over the years have taken on all kinds of form, you know, from no form at the beginning to more and more form, that I became quite proud of the form and started to lose the feeling, to then realizing, okay, it's not about the form. And again, mind giving me a lesson by taking away the form through the disguise of the hotel workers, taking all my form off the walls and so on. And so once again, seeing, okay, like, be in the moment. This is service, be in the moment, be with who you are in the moment. And once again, feeling the depth of that service and feeling not alone. Like, I've said this before, I know, but it's coming to me again because I love that people have said to me, gosh, I like to work with a team. I work best with a team. And that's fine. Like, whatever form, again, as Claire says, it doesn't matter what form. For me, my team is whoever I'm with. So I never feel like I'm alone. I can be with 1,000 people. I can be with 2. I can be with 1. But I feel like I'm with a team. And that, I love that, because then I never feel alone. Even when I am alone, I don't feel alone. And also, especially when I worked in the corporate world, and I remember sharing that once because I'd been at this corporation for about 2 weeks doing on-site interviews to get a kind of a fresh take on where people were and how we could help management see a little bit more to be in service to their employees and so on. And this was I was directed to do this by management. And so at the end of that, then I had time with management and actually did a training with management. And I guess it was toward the last half of the second day where I was starting to run out of steam after all the interviews and talking with management. And it was like, okay, guys, I was able to be honest with them after lunch and say to the manager of the facility, you know, I'm done, Joe. I'm cooked. I have nothing else to offer. What about you guys? Could you take over for the afternoon and I'll just sit in the audience and you guys share what you see? And they were sort of taken aback at first because, like, who acknowledges that they're done? When you bring a professional trainer in, like normally a professional trainer wouldn't acknowledge, I'm done. You know, it's up to you. But it turned out to be the best thing because it was like they were called and it was a divine purpose in a sense. You know what I mean? Because they weren't sharing what they wanted their employees to do or what the employees wanted them to do. It just jumped to a higher level of inside out service in terms of relationships, not the to-dos, like to make sure there weren't cords lying in the manufacturing plants and work safety issues. It was nothing like that, although those things came up. But they just intuitively went to a deeper level of service in regards to relationships, in regards to learning themselves, you know, what was meaningful to them in the moment as human to human, and even more soul to soul. Because it's not often in the corporate world you get executives to talk about love, you know, this unconditional love, which Martin Luther King called agape, or to talk about soul to soul conversation. And that was the caliber of the afternoon from the plant manager, the VP of operations, who kind of took the lead. But there was such safety, as Vicki was talking about earlier, you know, when is it safe to kind of crack open? Well, man, it was very safe. And they kind of cracked open their old belief system of what they could share and what they couldn't. And it drew everybody in. And so they had this incredible conversation. And I just sat in the back of the room and just absorbed the feeling of their conversation. It was incredible. And so, you know, part of my humanness and having the honesty to acknowledge, like, I'm done, I have nothing left to say, they found a new, and I'm saying this deliberately, a new divine purpose in terms of service at a deeper level. And they never forgot that. They never forgot that they could do that at work. And it changed that company. And as a matter of fact, it was one of their staffs who at another facility, when I went in to work with them in another town, he was an African-American man. And he was the one that brought up that term agape, because for some reason I was talking about, you know, sharing love and understanding in my conversation with the group. And it was the African-American who said, you know, Elsie, what you're talking about is what Martin Luther King called agape. And I'd never heard that term before. And he said, it's unconditional love. It's just love for the universe, for the world, unconditional love, agape. And he actually later on that afternoon went out and printed the speech in which Martin Luther King said that, used that phrase. And I have it still tucked away. And he was one that when he shared that, word agape, he said, you know, Elsie, when the management consulting firm that worked there before I did, but they had been trained by Roger and I, he said, when they first came in and started to talk to us about thought and relationships and all that, he said, I wondered, were we going to be required to hold hands in a circle and sing Kumbaya? It's like, you know, that's what they thought this program was going to be about. And then they realized that, okay, the talk sounds soft, you know, relationships and rapport, developing rapport. And the rapport isn't just talking about football or golf or something. It's rapport where you're seeing past behavior of people. It's that kind of deep rapport that you have love, you have understanding for people at that deep rapport level, despite their behavior, despite how they're acting out. It's like, okay, so it may sound like soft, but wow, like they started to get the value, the practical, like down to earth value, that when people were feeling better and their state of mind was clearer, they weren't tripping over the cords that were left in the manufacturing plant. You know, they weren't doing all kinds of things that required them to be off work for mental health issues or physical health issues, because they didn't have the same level of stress. So they could start to see, okay, as relationships are becoming more understanding and more harmonious, and that we can listen at a deeper level, that we're listening beyond the words, you know. And I know, Claire, that listening has been a big thing for you. They were starting to see that, okay, we may not even agree with one another, but we can listen beyond the words, that we can agree to disagree. And that came again from an executive in Tampa, Brooke, and his VP of operations, that with this training, they both came to the realization when we were talking to them about separate realities, and we showed them a video that Sid had done on separate realities. And they went like, whoa, wow. So I don't have to judge my VP of operations because he has a different opinion and it's not like mine. And the VP of operations is thinking the same thing. And they kind of concurrently realize, wow, we can still respect one another even though we have a difference of opinion. We don't have to judge and blame each other. And then as time went on, they did come to alignment because their listening was enhanced, because they weren't so gripped by their personal thinking. So it may sound soft, but then you start to see results. It's like, that's the proof of the pudding, is results. So I rest my case. Isn't it interesting how it all ties together?
Can I just ask, do you know the name of the video in which Sid talks about separate realities by any chance?
It's actually called Separate Realities.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm not sure which one it's from. I'll tell you what, I'll look it up and let you know which series it's from. But it's an actual video. Some of the videos that I started off playing for this corporate group, not in Tampa so much. This was in one of the other cities that I was working with, the company that manufactured trucks. They got a little nervous when Sid talked too spiritual. And so I respected that, you know. And so when I was looking at the different tapes, I thought, what about the Separate Realities one? And so I played that frequently, and they loved the Separate Realities tape. It was a little more down to earth, and yet there was humor in it. and yet it was very deep, all at the same time. And so they loved that separate realities. Because who knew? They didn't know anything about separate realities. I never knew anything about separate realities. It's like, get over yourself. My reality was the only one that I was aware of. Who knew that other people had their point of view too? Like, just the innocence of realizing, gosh, like this person has a point of view too, and wanting to listen instead of being, well, no, my way is the only way, and being proud of it. I knew a lot of people in the early days before I even knew Sid. Like, that's the kind of crowd we hung around with. It's like, out of insecurity, we would say to each other, like, my way is the only way. Otherwise, hit the road, Jack. And we all felt the same way. So we didn't have long-term relationships because one or the other of us would say, okay, hit the road, Jack. Now, once we got into this understanding and began to release our love and everything like that good stuff, it's like we have these long-term relationships. And that's not to say that we always get along or that we're always in agreement, because that was part of what I posted this morning that came from many, many direct conversations with business partners, with colleagues, with clients, where there were times where we had to fire a client and say, we can't work with you anymore. And to be that direct, Andre, after working with them for 6 months, and the people in the plant were getting along and doing things in a much more harmonious fashion, but the boss was holding them back. And after, a number of different coaching, mentoring conversations between Chip and myself and the boss, Chip and I finally came independently to the conclusion we have to walk away. We're not prepared to keep working because he's not listening, and so right now it's hurting the company. And so we had a meeting with him and basically said, I'm sorry, we're just going to have to walk away because this is what we see, and we can see it's starting to hurt people. And if you ever feel you'd like us to come back in again and have another look, we'd be happy. We'd be happy to accommodate you. And we walked away. And within a month, he had us back. Within a month. And we continued to work with that agency. So, thank you all for sharing today. And we didn't get to touch everybody, Naomi. I didn't get a chance to ask you anything you want to add at the end here.
No, I don't want to keep everyone. This is the last session, isn't it?
No, we have.
Yay!
Oh, how nice. Oh, that's lovely.
There's 2 more, Naomi.
Yay! That's fine.
Oh,
We'll talk next week. It'll be fine.
Okay, perfect. You're on next week. Next time.
Great.
Sure. Okay. See, that warms my heart even more. My heart is already, just filling my chest here, and you've added the cream on the top there.
There you go.
All right, my dears. Goodbye, all. We'll see you
Bye.
next time.